The topic biodiversity hotspots have appeared in many times in the UPSC examination. Let's find out what you mean by the biodiversity hotspot. Biodiversity hotspots or biogeographical regions characterized by high levels of spatial richness and endemism that are under significant threats due to human activities. These areas are considered priorities for conservation efforts because they harbor a disproportionate amount of Earth's biodiversity and face elevated risk of habitat loss and species extinction. Two main criteria are generally considered for designating a region as biodiversity hotspot. One is the species richness. The region must contain at least 1,500 species of vascular plants as endemics. Next is the threatened habitat. The habitat must have lost at least 70% of its original vegetation. The concept of biodiversity hotspot is strategic for conservation planning. By targeting these areas, conservationists aim to protect a maximum number of species with a minimum investment of resources. These regions are very crucial for maintaining global biodiversity and ecosystem services. In 1988, British ecologist Norman Myers published a seminar paper identifying 10 tropical forest hotspots. These regions were characterized both by exceptional levels of plant endemism and serious levels of habitat loss. Conservation International, one of the most important global donor organizations, adopted Myers hotspot as its institutional blueprint in 1989. In 1996, the organization made the decision to undertake a reassessment of the hotspot concept. 3 years later, an extensive global review was undertaken which introduced quantitative thresholds for the designation of biodiversity hotspot and resulted in the designation of 25 biodiversity hotspots. What about India? India is home to one of the most recognized biodiversity hotspots known as the Western Ghats. The Western Ghats is a mountain range that runs parallel to the western coast of Indian subcontinent, covering states like Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Here are some key details about the Western Ghats as a biodiversity hotspot. Following the criteria for an area to be declared as biodiversity hotspot, there are 4 major biodiversity hotspots: the Himalayas, the Indo-Burma region, the Western Ghats and the Sundaland. The Western Ghats is known for its exceptional biodiversity, housing a vast array of flora and fauna. The region is home to numerous endemic species, meaning they are found nowhere else in the world. Western Ghats has high levels of endemism among plants, amphibians, reptiles and fishes. Many species in this region are specially adapted to the unique ecosystems found within the Ghats. The Western Ghats encompass diverse habitat types including tropical evergreen forest, semi-evergreen forest, moist deciduous forest and grasslands. The biodiversity of the Western Ghats is under threat from various human activities including deforestation, habitat fragmentation, agricultural expansion and infrastructure development. Urbanization and climate change also pose very important challenges to the biodiversity of this region. The conservation initiatives in the Western Ghats include the establishment of protected areas, wildlife sanctuaries and biosphere reserves. Efforts are also made to promote sustainable land use practices and community-based conservation. The Western Ghats was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2012, recognizing its outstanding biological diversity and ecological significance. Biodiversity pins all life on Earth. Without species, there would not be air to breathe, no food to eat, no water to drink. There would be no human society at all. And all these places on Earth where most biodiversity is under the most threats, hotspots are critical to human survival. The map of hotspots overlaps extraordinarily well with the map of the natural places that most people benefit. That's because hotspots are among the richest and the most important ecosystems in the world, and they are home to many vulnerable populations who are directly dependent on nature to survive. By one estimate, despite comprising 2.5% of Earth's land surface, the forest, wetlands and other ecosystems in hotspots account for 35% of the ecosystem services that vulnerable human population depend on. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, The IUCN, India accounts for 7 to 8% of all recorded species, including over 45,000 species of plants and 91,000 of species of animals. But with the rapid loss of biodiversity, many species are becoming extinct or at risk of becoming critically endangered. These species that are at risk of extinction due to sudden decrease in the population and habitat are known as the endangered species.